Hello, brains. As somebody with ADHD, I have always struggled with self care. And when I became a mom, it got so much harder, but it was also so much more critical, which meant I had to figure it out. Over the last year of being a new mom, I realized how much I had believed or internalized about self care that just wasn't true. I learned some important lessons about what actually is true about self care and how to actually do it. And I wanted to share that with you. In this video, I want to talk about 5 lies that I believed about self care as somebody with ADHD and how I learned the truth. While I learned this stuff when I became a mom, a lot of it would have applied to me before. It just took a major life shift for me to realize it. And a lot of what I learned came out of unlearning some of the lies that I had believed about self care before. So, without further ado, 1, I'm too busy to practice self care. I believed this because historically it has been true. As somebody with ADHD, there have been a lot of times where I had to put my needs on hold. I definitely didn't have time for self care because I had to get something done. I had to turn in a project. I had to be there for a friend. Sometimes it's what had to happen. I needed to keep my job, or it was worth it to me. It was important to me to, I don't know, write a New York Times bestseller. And so I pulled a 16-hour day one day trying to get that chapter rewritten to be as good as I knew that it could be. And was that ideal? No, but like, was it worth it? Yeah. Like, so I kind of had this message reinforced, right? That if I'm busy, that like self-care isn't a thing. And there's even this sense of pride in some circles of like, sleep is for the weak, right? Like, I don't need to take care of myself. When the baby was almost here, I sat down with my partner and we were talking about all the things that we needed to do and how intense this was going to be. And we were trying to figure out how to manage everything. And I asked him, like, okay, cool. Like, how are you going to make sure that you still get the downtime you need? And he joked, self-care? I don't get to do that anymore. And I looked at him and I was like, there was something about the finality of that that just made it clearly ridiculous, right? Like, we're about to be putting out a lot more energy. We're going to be taking care of this tiny human. You're not going to charge yourself at all anymore. Like, that to me was like the equivalent of, I am about to take on this new job where I'm going to need to use my phone all the time. So I don't get to charge it anymore. The math doesn't math there. Like, you're going to use it more but charge it less. Like, it's gonna die. Like, what do you think is gonna happen here? We might not have as much time for it. We might not be able to practice self-care exactly in the moments when we realize we need it. But because of that, the truth behind this is the more we're asking of ourselves, the more we need to strategize our self-care. Because there might be times when we're using our us and we can't recharge it, we need to be recharging when we can. Routine self-care becomes a lot more important. Building that into our everyday so that we don't get to the point where it's an emergency and we have to step away because we won't always be able to. And also thinking about what is the equivalent of like a super fast charger. For me, that is getting a massage. I went to school for massage therapy and I once learned that getting a 60-minute massage is the equivalent of like a 2-day vacation in terms of stress relief. Maybe not for everybody, definitely for me. So for me, that's getting a massage. And for my partner, that's spending time alone, like completely alone, so that he doesn't have to run do what people expect.exe in the background all of the time. And because that was going to be the most effective for us in terms of getting rest and recharging, we built that into our routines. Every time I get a massage, I schedule the next one. And we moved his desk and the computer into the guest room instead of in the main area where everybody's constantly walking by, so that when he has time to play games or even when he's working on a report or something, he also naturally gets time alone. Usually. Sometimes I'm reading him scripts or filming him taking his alone time. Babe, how are you enjoying your alone time?
I'll let you know when I have it.
Okay, we're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you.
Love you.
2, I can practice self-care as long as everyone/everything else is taken care of. Why did I believe this? I don't know. The way that I've socialized, I am an oldest child. I have younger siblings that I would always take care of. I was in the food service industry. I did a lot of waiting tables, and that's just kind of how it was. Like, you made sure that everybody else was taken care of, and then you could go in the back and like shove a bite of a baked potato into your mouth. Like, you made sure that everybody else was okay first, and then you took care of you. This did not work as a new mom because there's this constant need to take care of this baby. There were so many times where it was like the baby needed to be napping on me, but also like I'm not supposed to fall asleep like while she's napping. So like I'm there exhausted, like holding this napping baby and also like trapped. I can't get up. I can't go eat anything. It was so hard to take care of myself, just period. But like it felt like there was this never ending thing. Like as soon as my baby was through her cycle, like she needed to start the next one. I got to the point where I was starving and exhausted and a little bit manic from the lack of sleep. And it was a new mom that came to me and said, "You don't have to do it this way. Like you can take care of yourself while taking care of her." And she showed me how to do it. Like it just wasn't in my vocabulary. I didn't know that that was a thing. I didn't know that you could take care of yourself while taking care of somebody else. She's like, "Yeah, they won't show you this at the hospital, whatever, but this is how you do a contact nap." Safely set up your snacks, set up your water, set up your entertainment, and then sit down, put a pillow here, baby goes here, dog goes here. You're all set up and you have everything you need. You're doing what you need to do to meet your baby's needs, but you're also fully capable of meeting yours at the same time. And I remember being really nervous and I'm like, "But I'm not supposed to fall asleep while the baby's like on me." Like, and she goes, "What are you going to do? Yeet the baby?" Like it had just been drilled into me that you could only take care of others and then take care of yourself, that just trying to do it at the same time was such a novel concept for me. But yeah, that was the truth that I learned. Like maybe not always, maybe not all of the time, but even in this really critical space where I had this important task of caring for this tiny human, you can practice self-care while caring for others. So now that I learned this, I use it elsewhere in my life too, like at work. I have a pre-work checklist where if I know that I'm going to maybe be absorbed in stuff for the day, if I'm going to potentially slip into hyperfocus or be busy taking care of people, answering emails, whatever, I will run through a checklist of like making sure that I have all of the things that I need to take care of myself while I'm doing this. So that's grab water or tea, set an alarm for lunch, have a massager at the ready. My bike, I have an exercise bike that I can get some exercise while I'm working. I restock my snack stash. I really like Chomps. And they're the sponsor of this video. Oh my God, these are good. Those of us with ADHD often forget to eat. We have interoception challenges, some of us. We don't always notice that we're hungry until like we're really, really hungry. So I stash these everywhere. I put them in my diaper bag. I can eat it. My baby can eat it. I pack them when I travel, stick them in my pocket as I'm walking down the street. Like you can take these with you wherever you go. They don't need to be refrigerated, which makes them a super easy snack to stash. If you, like me, do not sit still, these are great. They're great for an on-the-go lifestyle. It also has 10 grams of protein and 0 sugar. Protein is really good for ADHD brains, and not having the sugar can be really helpful as well. And now they have a trial pack with a bunch of different flavors: sea salt, jalapeno, taco seasoned beef stick, which I haven't tried that one yet. I'm gonna try that. It tastes like tacos. The original is my favorite, but I think it's really cool that you can get this trial pack because you can try a bunch of different flavors and see which one you like best. If you'd like to try Chomps, go to chomps.com/ADHD15 and enter the code ADHD15, and you can get 15% off a trial pack plus free shipping. We'll also put the link in the description below. 3, self-care is something I have to do by myself. I don't actually know why I believed this, but somewhere along the way I internalized it. My best guess is as a kid, you're told things like, go brush your teeth, go wash your hands, go wash your face. It's all like, go do this thing, go take care of yourself. There's also a part of me that's like, well, I should be able to take care of myself by myself. Like, I'm an adult, like, I should be able to do this. But as a new mom, you really don't do a whole lot by yourself. Sometimes you pee with like a baby strapped to you. You brush your teeth with the baby there. Like, I took baths with the baby. There were so many times that I had the baby around for what is typically a solo self-care task that I would perform. And something interesting happened. While it was a bit of a pain to have to take care of her while I was trying to brush my teeth, I also was way more likely to do it because I had this self-care buddy now. And it was kind of confusing because like this should objectively be harder. But after a while, I realized this is body doubling. Like, body doubling is really helpful for people with ADHD. It's a lot easier for us to do things when there's somebody else in the room with us. And this was kind of like that. And it made me realize like self-care can be social. Even if it is technically more work, I find that I'm more likely to do it if it involves somebody else. So instead of doing yoga at home, I will do the extra work of getting myself to the gym for a yoga class. Because if you're on a mat and surrounded by other people doing yoga, you're more likely to do yoga. I threw a self-care party. A bunch of us did face masks and stuff. I do video chats to do nails together. And then something that I've really been wanting to learn for a long time is learning to cook. So I asked my fiance's dad if he would be willing to teach me. So now I go over with the baby every Friday and learn how to cook. Is it more work to pack up a baby and drive over to his house and then learn how to cook there than it would be to do it at my house? Yeah. Am I more likely to do it? Also, yes. 4, I shouldn't need self care that others don't need. Our concept of what self care should look like largely depends on 2 things. 1, what is marketed to us, and 2, what we see those around us doing. We've all internalized a lot of messages about what is an acceptable level of self care or what is an appropriate amount of self care. And if our own needs fall outside of that, it can be really easy to feel like there's something wrong with that, right? Like I shouldn't need this because somebody else doesn't. My partner and I talked about this and he really feels the same way. As new parents, it became very apparent like that we needed things that other people didn't need. I needed some self-care that other new moms didn't seem to need. He needed self-care that other new dads didn't seem to need. And it was really easy for us to feel like a little bit judgy toward ourselves about that. How I unlearned this one was actually one day looking up the definition of self care. And there are a lot of different definitions, but basically it comes down to anything that we do to take care of our physical, mental, or emotional health. And I realized if my brain and body are different from somebody else's brain and body, it follows naturally that my brain and body might need things that are different from what somebody else's brain and body needs. And that goes both ways. There might be things that I need more of than I see other people need. And also, like, it's just the surface, right? Like, I'm seeing them on the surface. I don't know, like, maybe they go home and they actually need a lot more self care than I think, right? My partner talks about this. Like, other people don't need to sleep in a separate sleeping environment from their partner in order to be able to get sleep. But it is true for him. If he's rested, he's able to be there for his family more effectively. So is it the norm to sleep in a separate bed? I mean, it's kind of becoming that way. Sleep maxing is a thing now. But even if it weren't, if it works for him, that's good because it doesn't just benefit him, it benefits us too. One of the things that I learned that was kind of interesting was if it works for babies, it works for adults. A lot of the stuff that I was doing to take care of my daughter ended up working really well for me. One of her care providers has a little boy that would come over and he is very energetic and kept wanting to play on her toys. So I ended up getting him one of those like aerial swing things that's like for kids. And I have been using it too. And turns out like that's very effective for me. It's a great way for me to calm my body. It's somehow like stimulating and relaxing at the same time. We're not doing self-care wrong if we are taking care of our brains and our bodies. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We all have differing self-care needs. So now I focus less on what I think should work for me and what I see others do, and I focus more on what actually does. If I find something that really seems to benefit me mentally, emotionally, physically, I do that. As long as it's not hurting anybody else, that's self-care. And finally, 5, self-care should be enough for me to be okay. In our highly individualized society, there is this expectation that if we're not okay, that we have to fix it through self-care. I definitely internalized this. I knew that I would need a lot of care as a new mom, so I actually put together a self-care bag for myself of like fuzzy socks and like affirmation cards and a mug that said mom, and I got all of these self-care things and I put together this like really cute bag. And then I got home from the hospital with this tiny human, and that bag largely went untouched. Like I did not even have the time or energy to go through it, much less use anything in it. Self-care isn't enough when we're drowning because the burden is on us to do more when we are already so not okay. But even if we can do more, it's not always enough. I needed that support from others. I needed that intervention from mental health professionals as well. So if it feels like you've tried everything, you've watched a lot of videos about self-care and like you're just trying to find that like one thing that's going to finally like make things click into place and that one self-care hack that's going to make you be okay, maybe it's time. Sometimes we need a higher level of care because what we're going through or what we've been through is a lot. I'm going to put some resources in the description below. I'll also put a few here that are specific for new moms or if you're looking for a therapist, therapy finder. And that doesn't mean it's forever. Self-care helped me get through this last year quite a bit, and it wouldn't have been enough on its own. If there's a resource that you have found helpful, some sort of higher level of care, literally anything from like a food delivery service to a hospitalization program that has helped you be okay, please drop it in the comments below. I'm sure that there are a lot of people in our community that could benefit from that. Thank you to our brain advocates and all our Patreon brains for supporting the work that we do. I hope you like this episode. Like, subscribe, click all the things, and I will see you next video. Bye, brains.